can do another round, another round, another round, another round, another round. Now we can stay here. I'm heavily loaded. We can stay here the whole night. There's no problem. I'm ready. So, ladies and gentlemen, the same day the king gave Esther the estate of Haman. We have already read about that. Then Esther again pleaded with the king. So the king replied to Esther and to Mordecai the Jew, because Haman attacked the Jews and I have given the estate to Esther and have impaled him on the pole he set up. Now write another decree in the name of the king on behalf of the Jews as seems best to you, and seal it with the king's sealed with his name can be revoked. If you're new to this channel, this is the last video of the night. At once the royal secretaries were summoned on the 23rd day of the third month in the month of Sivan. They wrote out all Mordecai's orders to the Jews and to the satraps, the governors, the nobles, and the 127 provinces stretching from India to Kush. These orders written in the script of each province and the language of each people, and also to the Jews in their own script and language. Mordecai wrote in the name of the king, sealed the dispatches with the king's signature and sent them. We're back. After this Bible session, I want to do a few push-ups just to keep fit, okay? So that tomorrow we'll have the energy to push because you have to have a very good body to stay here. So they granted the Jews in every city the right to assemble and to protect themselves, to destroy, kill, and annihilate the armed men of any nationality who might attack them and their children and plunder their property of their enemies. The day appointed for the Jews to do this in all the provinces, the 12th month, the month of Adar. If you're new to this channel, welcome. We are just about to end our reading of the book of Esther, and then later on I'll do some workouts before I go to bed. Any question up to there? I'll be more than happy to answer you. A copy of the text of the edict was also to be issued as law in every province and made known to the people of every nationality, so that the Jews would be ready on that day to avenge themselves on their enemies. The couriers, riding the royal horses, went out spurred on by the king's command, and the edict was issued in the citadel of Susa. Chapter 9. When Mordecai left the king's presence, he was wearing royal garments of blue and white, a large crown of gold, and a purple robe of fine linen. And the city of Susa held a joyous celebration. For the Jews, it was time for happiness and joy, gladness and honor in every province and in every city to which welcome to this channel. And I'm very happy to be here. I'm just about to finish reading the book of Esther so that tomorrow we can start reading from the book of Job. I don't want us to waste time, okay? So there was joy and gladness amongst the Jews with feasting and celebrating, and many people and other nationalities became Jews as the Jews had seized them. Chapter 9. On the 13th day of the 12th month, the month of Adar, the edict commanded by the king was to be carried out. And I'm very happy this wonderful evening to be here. We're just about to finish reading. On that day, the enemies of the Jews had hoped to overpower them, but now the tables had turned, and the Jews got the upper hand over those who hated them. The Jews assembled in their cities and all the provinces of the king to attack those determined to destroy them. No one could stand before them, because the people of all other nationalities were afraid of them, and all the nobles on the provinces, the satraps, the governors, and the king's administration helped the Jews because fear of Mordecai. I want us to finish reading so that we can go. So the Jews struck down all the enemies with sword, killing and destroying them, and they did what they pleased to those who hated them. In the citadel of Susa, the Jews killed and destroyed 500 men. They also killed Pashandatha, Dalton, Aspatha, Poratha, Adalia, all these people, okay? The 10 sons of Haman, the enemy of the Jews, but they did not lay their hands on the plunder. The number of those killed in the citadel was reported to the king that same day. The king said to Queen Esther, "The Jews have killed and destroyed 500 men and 10 sons of Haman in the citadel of Susa. What have they done to the rest of the king's provinces? Now that is your petition. Now what is your petition? It will be given to you. What is your request? It will be granted." If it pleases the king, and Esther answered, "Give the Jews in Susa permission to carry out this day's edict tomorrow also, and let Haman's 10 sons be impaled on the poles." So the king commanded that this be done. An edict was issued. The 10 sons of Haman, the Jews in Susa, came together on the 14th day of the month of Adar, and they put to death in Susa 300 of men, but they did not lay their hands on the plunder. Meanwhile, the remainder of the Jews were in the king's provinces, also assembled to protect themselves and get relief from their enemies. They but did not lay their hands on the plunder. This happened on the 13th day of the month of Adar, and on the 14th they rested and made it a day of feasting and joy. The Jews in Susa, however, had assembled in the 13th and 14th, and then on the 15th they rested and made it a day of feasting and joy. That is why rural Jews, those living in the villages, observe the 14th of the month of Adar as a day of joy and feasting, a day of giving presents to each other. Mordecai recorded these events and sent letters to all the Jews throughout these provinces, near and far, that they would celebrate annually the 13th and the 15th days of the month of Adar. We're about to finish the book in maybe 5 minutes. As the time when the Jews got relief from their enemies, and the month when their sorrow was turned into joy, and their mourning into a day of celebration. He wrote to them to observe the days as a day of feasting and joy, giving presents of food to one another and gifts to the poor. If you're new to this channel, join me. So the Jews agreed to continue the celebration they had begun, doing what Mordecai had written to them. For Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of the Jews, had plotted against the Jews to destroy them and had cast for their ruin and destruction. But when the plot came to the king's attention, he issued orders that the evil scheme Haman had devised against the Jews should come back to his own head, and that he and his sons would be impaled on the poles. Therefore, these days were called Purim, from the word Pur, because everything written in this letter, and because of what they had seen and what happened to them, the Jews took it to themselves to establish the custom that they and their descendants and all who joined them should without fail observe these 2 days every year. In that way, prescribed under the time appointed, these days should be remembered and observed in every generation, by every family, and in every province, and in every city. And these days of Purim should never fail to be celebrated by the Jews, nor should the memory of these days die out amongst their descendants. Wow. So Queen Esther, the daughter of Abihail, along with Mordecai, wrote with full authority to confirm the second letter concerning Purim. And Mordecai sent letters to all the Jews in the 127 provinces and words of goodwill and assurances to establish these days of Purim at their designated times. And Mordecai the Jew and Queen Esther had decreed for them, as they had established for themselves and their descendants in regard to their times of fasting and lamentations. Esther's decree confirmed this. Number chapter 10, as we finish reading. King Xerxes imposed tribute throughout the empire to its distant shores, and all his acts of power and might, together with the full account of the greatness of Mordecai, are they not written in the books of the annals of the kings of Media and Persia? Mordecai the Jew was second in rank to the king, permanent among the Jews, and held in high esteem by all his fellow Jews, because he worked for the good of his people and spoke for the welfare of all Jews. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the book of Esther. And just because I'm happy we have finished reading that book, let's start the book of Job. Let's just start. Oh, this is so good. Let us start the book of Job. Now, we are in the book of Job. In the land of Uz, there lived a man whose name was Job. This man was blameless and upright. He feared God and shunned evil. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters, and he owned 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yokes of oxen, and 500 donkeys, and had a large number of servants. He was the greatest man amongst all the people of the East. Ladies and gentlemen, let us stop there. We'll continue tomorrow from the book of Job. From me to you, it was a pleasure reading the book. So what do we say? We say arrivederci. Arrivederci. It's goodbye, au revoir, and in Italian you say arrivederci. 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 Ooh.